In today's lesson, I'm going to teach you about hair growth cycles, the importance of syncing up our hair growth cycles, and then also what schedule we should be recommending to our clients when it comes to the consistency of waxing. So when you have a new client coming in, you want to make sure you instruct them to have at least 2 weeks of growth after shaving, which is going to be about 1/4 of an inch, which is the size of a grain of rice. So that's the minimum growth that we need in order to be able to perform a waxing service. Now, personally, I prefer if a client can wait 3 to 4 weeks after shaving, it's going to be ideal because we want as much growth as possible. Okay, so that's for your first wax. Now, our first goal when you see a new client is going to be to sync up their hair growth cycles. So the 3 hair growth cycles are anagen, catagen, and telogen. You probably remember this from school, but to just simplify this, especially for our clients, we're going to call it stages 1, 2, and 3. So if your client does come in at that 2-week mark after shaving, more often than not, stages 1 and 2 are going to be up, and stage 3 is going to be right under the surface of the skin. Now, I use these hand gestures when I'm teaching this to my clients because a lot of us are visual learners. So I literally will hold my fingers up like this and say, you have your stages 1 and 2 showing, and this is what I'm going to be waxing today. Stage 3 is right under the surface of the skin, and this can pop up within a few days to a week. So when it does, make sure that you are not tweezing, you're not shaving, you're not trying to wax them yourself. Our first goal is going to be to sync up our hair growth cycles. Okay, so stages 1, 2, and 3. Now, it takes about 3 to 4 services of them coming in consistently once a month or every 4 weeks to sync up your hair growth cycle. So that's our first goal, is to get our cycles to look from this to this, so that all 3 stages are above the surface of the skin and being waxed, because then you're going to have longer lasting results. So it's really important that you're explaining these to your client, you're giving them realistic expectations, and you're letting them know it's going to take 3 to 4 services in order to sync up those hair growth cycles. Once we have performed those 3 to 4 services and we see that our clients' hair cycles are synced up and they're having those longer lasting 2.5 to 3 week results, then sometimes you run into the issue of their hair actually not growing in quick enough, which is not a bad problem to have. So you'll oftentimes hear that a recommendation of every 3 to 4 weeks for a good waxing schedule. We really can't cookie cutter it down like that. We need to give a little bit more of a range. So I prefer anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks, which I know is a big range, but if you have a client coming in at that 4-week mark and they just don't have much hair, you may want to push it out a little bit further. Or if you're also struggling with syncing up their hair growth cycles following that 4-week mark, then you may want to suggest 1 or 2 services at a 5 or a 6-week mark to allow enough time for that 3rd cycle to grow in. So you're going to have to use your professional opinion and based on the client specifically that you're working on, but don't be afraid to push that schedule out a little bit further. Now, we don't want to pass the 6-week mark though, because that is at the point which we start building up that sheathing, sheathing is the bulb that you see at the ends of the hair or at the root when you remove a strip. Sheathing is actually dead skin buildup, product buildup, sebum, aka oils. So that is actually that bulb that you're seeing. So that's what creates the discomfort associated with waxing, because when you have a big bulb that's coming through a little follicle, it expands, causes inflammation, which inflammation equals discomfort. So our goal is to be waxing our clients before their hair has the opportunity to start rebuilding back that sheathing. Also, if you see a client that has a ton of sheathing, but they've been waxing for a while, it's most likely due to a product that they're using. So the number 1 culprit is body wash. So we want to make sure that we are recommending a body wash that is film free and not leaving any residue behind. Also, it's very common to see a lot of sheathing on the underarm, even if they've been consistently waxing and they're following the correct schedule, because of the usage of deodorant. So there's not much that we can do unless they want to switch over to a natural deodorant, but just be aware that it could be the reason why you're seeing sheathing on an underarm client, even if they've been consistent with their waxing.